Good day everybody, and it's good afternoon here in Australia. I am just relaxing. It's that time of night or evening where I can relax a little bit and tackle some of the questions that you guys have been asking me. And now I'm not going to be naming names because a few people have asked the same sort of thing, so I've put it together and I've kind of combined some of the questions together to make this quicker and more, easier to explain. Pardon me, gosh, that went the wrong way. Okay, so question was actually asked today or yesterday: can I reuse the pipette? And if so, how do I do it, or do I just throw it away? So yes, you can. Like I try to reuse things over and over and over again. It's a shame to waste anything really. With a pipette or a pipette, what I usually do is, if I have time and if I have things ready to do it, I will do this. I will get a little toothpick. Once I've finished with my art piece and my pipette is full of, it's been draining and it's got a bit of resin at the bottom of it, so what I do is just stick a toothpick inside the hole and just let it all set. Once it sets, I just got to jiggle it a little bit, jiggle the toothpick a little bit, and then kind of twist it a bit and pull it out, and there you go. It's nice and clean and ready. If I don't sort of have anything handy and I don't think of it, I don't really worry about it too much, then I just put all my pipettes into a cup, 1, 2 or 3 or 5, how many I've used, put them in a cup, and just naturally they will kind of obviously sit them upright, they will drain down, the resin will drain down naturally, the gravity will pull it down to the bottom. So try to squeeze out as much as you can out of it, and obviously you're not going to be sitting there all day trying to get every single little drop out. So whatever's left, a drop or 2 in there. Next day when it all sets, if you can't pull it out with a needle or a toothpick, then that's fine, just snip it. Do the snip. So snip that off. You can use it again and again like that until you can't use it anymore. So I've been known to use one pipette 4 or 5 times, no problem at all. It's really, unless you use those tiny little ones, now that's a different story. You want to use a toothpick and stick it in there, and pull everything out. Otherwise you don't have a lot of room to work with that one. So that's a pipette. I absolutely love them. Just be careful because sometimes they fill with air as well, and if you want to do a perfect line, you might get the burst of that air, just one air bubble, enough to ruin your perfect line. So just be careful with that one. Same sort of thing with a syringe as well. You need to, if you're using a syringe, use one that's really easy to use, and you don't get that burst of that big squirt, and it'll ruin your line. Because the reason why we're using these instruments is to have that perfect little line. So unless you want to just go with the syringe and create a blob, then that's a different thing. Don't worry about the bubbles or anything like that. Okay, since we are talking about cleaning things, I might just mention, this was one of the questions ages ago, so I might just mention it now because it just came to me. How to clean your shoes. Okay, how to clean your Jesus, brain work. Okay, how to clean your silicone molds. Okay, there's nothing worse than having little bits of drops and little droplets of resin on your mold, especially if they're tiny little ones, like 1 or 2 millimeters big. They are just so difficult to take off, to scrape off, and you can't really scrape your mold because you know you're going to damage it and you won't get that perfect shiny. But kids are going crazy. I've got a childcare next to me, and they must be all playing outside, and they're all going a bit bonkers. God. Back to our silicone molds. So the best way to clean them is to once you pour your, let's say you have a geode mold like I had. Let's say you've poured your resin, your colours and your tints and whatnots. These kids, they're on a rampage, I'm telling you. Anyway, let's say that you clean up, you poured your stuff into your mold. The best way to clean them is just to pull them out of the mold. The resin will pull everything out of the mold, okay? So, but those edges, they're the tricky bits, okay? So make sure you have an alcohol wipe. Julie from Pouring Your Heart Out, she uses baby wipe. I've actually never used a baby wipe. They're pretty cheap to buy, so try that. You know, you kind of just wind it over your finger and just go around and clean the edges so you get a nice smooth, perfectly clean edge. And once you pop your resin out of your mold, it's nice and clean, and Bob's your uncle, really. Okay, another question. This is a completely different question. Has to do with your substrate, and a lot of people ask, do you have to prime your substrate? Well, I've been known for ages not to do that, and that's usually because I'm in such a hurry and don't have a lot of time and I just want to get my piece done. But it really does make a difference if you prime it. Now, your canvases, if you're using a canvas, it definitely is already primed, okay, but it doesn't hurt to give it another priming of gesso or even some varnish, just to stop any of the bubbles from underneath, because you know the sorry, I just have some bloody hair or something on me. Everything's happening. Anyway, so just so that you got a nice flow going over when you're pouring your resin art or your acrylic art, and you don't want any of that air that is coming from underneath poking out and creating a schmozzle, which you don't want. It's not a bad idea to prime it. And you know, sometimes if I'm lazy and in a bit of a hurry, what I do is I just get the spray varnish and I just go outside, obviously, and spray the back of my canvas or my board, and I also spray the front of my board. But I do like to, especially if I'm using the MDF boards which haven't been primed, because if you buy them primed, they are quite expensive. So you know, you can just go to your hardware store and pick some MDF boards, but they come with that sort of a tanny browny kind of color. Unless you want that, that's great, because a tan color can work great if you're doing a bit of a beach scene, and then you just isolate that tan color that can be your beach and just pour your clear over that, and then the rest of it just pour your colors. But I would recommend that you get some gesso, and that everything's happening, and that you just you know, paint, even any paint, anything that's going to wall paint or gesso, black gesso, varnish, anything that's going to stop that the bubble movement, because that is a pain. Because no matter how many times you go across your resin piece with your heat gun or your blowtorch, you'll still get that air coming in from underneath. So it's not a bad idea to prepare to do that, unless you're like practicing and you just want to get it done quickly. Then don't worry about it. But if you're doing some artwork to sell or something for your home that you want to treasure, yeah, just go that extra mile and get it varnished, or get it primed with gesso or paint, wall paint, anything like that. And you can also do the whole piece. Let's say, for example, you are doing a beach scene. You can paint the beach scene with your paint. Do your blues, your aquas, your teals, whatever, your sand color. Let that dry nicely, and then you pour over that. So you've got a bit of a guideline as to where you want to pour your resin colors, and then and it also eliminates those extra bubbles coming from underneath. So you're killing two birds with one stone. Not that I would ever try and kill a bird with a stone or otherwise, but you know, that's the saying that goes around, so that's why I'm using it. Yeah, so is it necessary? Not really necessary, but it's smart. It's a smart thing to do, and it's a practical thing to do. So be proactive and prime your substrates. Also, if you're using a canvas, depending on the size of the canvas, it's always a good idea to put something like cardboard or something like this. That bloody hair again. I got lipstick on. Things are sticking onto my lipstick. So yeah, just get some cardboard or something like that, even really thick paper or anything. Cardboard is usually a good thing. Cut it out to measure, and put it inside on the underneath side of your canvas, just to keep it nice and flat. You do have those wedges, those stretchers. You can pop those in, but I find with the stretchers sometimes if I stretch my canvas too much and it's nice and tight and perfect for painting acrylics over it, but when you put resin on it, because it's so tight, the resin will tighten it even more, and it might warp a little bit, and so you have it a little bit lopsided. You don't want that. So the best thing to do is actually to prop it with something underneath it, unless you're using a tile or an MDF board, which is pretty flat. But even MDF boards, you know, if they are really thin, they can warp as well, because the heat will just do this with these kinds of substrates. So I don't know if I covered everything. If you have any other questions regarding what I just spoke about, just let me know, because I tend to forget. You know, I just ramble on. I just ramble on about stuff that is on my mind, and sometimes I miss things that might be really important to someone. So let me know, ask me. If I can answer, I will. If I don't know the answer, I will do some research for you, and you know, and let you know. But you know, you can. There's so many really clever artists on YouTube who actually explain things. There's a lot of them who don't, but invest some time and look through, and a lot of them are willing to share what they know, and that's a great thing. But if they're not, feel free to contact me. I get people email me, text me, find me on Facebook and through my group and through my pages, because I've got several pages and a couple of groups. So yeah, just let me know if there's something that you need to know. If I know, I will try and answer it for you. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this and hope it was useful for someone. So, and if you think that I said something wrong and that you don't agree, let me know as well. Okay, so I will see you again in another video. Bye for now. Mwah. Stay safe.